Hello, Leo. Let's be honest, you didn't just stumble onto this video. Something brought you here. And deep down, I think you know that too. Welcome to Eternal Mindfulness, where each video isn't just information. It's an awakening. If you're watching this between June 7th and 9th, then listen closely because the universe is opening a door just for you. And behind that door, 6 powerful cosmic numbers, each holding a code designed to unlock your alignment with health, wealth, and love. These aren't just lucky numbers. These are soul signatures. Timed codes of energy. And they're vibrating on your frequency, right now. You see, Leo, when the universe starts whispering, it rarely shouts. Instead, it sends signals of feeling in your chest, a spark in your gut, a pull in your spirit. If you've been sensing something shifting in your life, maybe your sleep feels different, your thoughts linger longer, or you've been having moments of clarity you can't explain, you're not alone. That's the sign. The shift has already begun. Each of these 6 numbers is connected to something vital. One will speak directly to your career, another to your physical energy, another may touch your heart in a way that surprises you. These numbers are not passive. They interact with you. The moment you hear the one meant for you, something inside will feel still. Certain. You'll know. And when that moment comes, don't let it pass by unnoticed. Drop a comment below and simply say, "That was my number." No need to explain. Just affirm that something real reached you. When you name it, you ground it. Now, before we dive in, let me take a second to say this truly, thank you. Your presence here means more than you know. Every time you like, comment, share, or subscribe to this space, you're not just supporting a channel, you're helping grow a community built on truth, alignment, and soul recognition. You're making it possible for messages like this to reach the people who need them most. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for being here. This isn't just content. It's connection. It's energy. It's evolution. And believe me, dear Leo, you're going to want to stay with me through the very last moment of this video. Because what the universe is about to reveal, it's not only spectacular, it's personal. This message didn't go out to everyone. It was calibrated for you. So breathe in. Feel that quiet anticipation rising in your chest. That's your signal. The numbers are already moving through your field. And now, let's see what happens when your spirit meets the pattern it was always meant to recognize. Shall we begin? The moment you hear the number 17, there's a subtle opening, like a door you didn't realize was always there. And behind that door isn't a sudden windfall or a lottery ticket, it's something far more powerful, a quiet realignment between your values and what you're finally ready to receive. 17 isn't just a number, it's a signal. A pattern. A reflection of where you've been planting seeds, not for applause, but because something deep inside you whispered, "This matters." Leo, you've never been one to chase hollow rewards. Even when the world around you screamed for performance, your heart has always known the difference between appearance and authenticity. That's why this number comes to you now, not in the early stages of hope, but in the sacred middle, where hope matures into knowing. When Venus forms a flowing angle with Jupiter, the universe doesn't shout. It harmonizes. And harmony, especially for you, isn't about being passive, it's about choosing to be aligned with what already wants to support you. The energy of 17 moves like a stream finding its natural course again. It doesn't push. It doesn't convince. It reminds you, wealth flows not where you prove your worth, but where your worth already lives, in what you create, in how you serve, in the way you commit without performance. It begins when you start asking a different kind of question. Not, how can I get more, but, where am I ready to let more arrive through me? What this number activates isn't luck. It's coherence. A state of integrity between your actions and your intentions. And when that alignment stabilizes, abundance no longer feels like something you're chasing. It becomes something you're stewarding, something already in motion, finally able to land because your field can hold it. There's a teaching passed down not through language, but through presence, that the way we receive is deeply connected to the way we offer. Not what we give, but the quality behind it. When your hands move from purpose, not from pressure, when your effort carries stillness instead of urgency, the world feels that. The field responds. And the support you've been quietly asking for, it starts to show up, not because you forced it, but because you matched it. You might begin to notice small shifts: a payment clears earlier than expected, a client calls back out of the blue, someone offers help without being asked. These are not random. These are reflections. Mirroring the internal structure you've been rebuilding quietly, the version of you that knows your worth isn't dependent on productivity, but on presence. That knows you don't have to shout to attract. You only have to resonate. So if you feel a nudge to pause, to write, to affirm, follow it. Write down the phrase, "Money flows to me through what I love and how I serve." And don't just write it. Let it shape your breath as you speak it. Let it slow your pace for just a moment. Let it soften that corner of your mind that still believes it needs to deserve what's already reaching for you. And maybe, right now, something in your body is already responding. A warmth in your chest. A softening behind your eyes. That's 17, doing what it came here to do. You don't need to chase more. You only need to remember where your frequency already matches what you're ready to hold. And as this remembering deepens, the current of abundance begins to meet you, not in a rush, but in rhythm. Just like you always knew it would. After stepping through the energy of 17, that quiet but powerful shift into financial harmony, we now meet the number 3. And its presence is entirely different. Where 17 grounded you in value and trust, 3 lifts you into movement, into expression, into the gentle but undeniable rhythm of voice and connection. If 17 is the fertile soil, 3 is the blossoming, the moment something within you wants to be spoken, seen, and felt out loud. The number 3 doesn't arrive with urgency. It doesn't demand that you reveal everything. Instead, it simply opens the space. A space where communication becomes less about explanation and more about honesty. When Mercury, the planet of thought and speech, flows through the sign of Gemini, there's an invitation to let ideas breathe again. But more than that, to let your emotions find form through words, tone, gestures, even silence. It asks, how are you expressing your truth? Or more subtly, where are you still holding back? There's a reason so many of us feel a tightness in the throat when emotions rise. The throat is not just a physical passage, it's an energetic gate. When emotions get stuck, when truth is suppressed, when words are swallowed too many times, this gate closes. Not all at once, but gradually, a kind of quiet constriction that shapes how we breathe, how we speak, how we allow ourselves to be known. 3 gently nudges that gate open. It doesn't insist you tell your story to the world. It simply invites you to tell the truth to yourself first. The kind of truth that lives not in dramatic declarations, but in the soft clarity of a phrase like, "I miss you," or "This matters to me," or "I don't know, but I want to understand." These are not just words. These are healing frequencies. And when spoken from the heart, even if whispered in solitude, they begin to dissolve years of inner resistance. In moments of stillness, when your breath slows and the mind is less noisy, you may feel a quiet desire to say something aloud. Not for performance, but for release. That's the medicine of 3. It reminds you that expression isn't just about being heard, it's about returning to wholeness. Just as a lake ripples when a stone is dropped, your body responds when truth is finally allowed to move through the vocal pathway. Sometimes that ripple feels like tears. Sometimes like laughter. Sometimes like a long, silent exhale. All of them are valid. This number also holds a mirror to how we relate. In love, many of us wait for the other to initiate, for the timing to be right, for the fear to pass. But 3 says, go first. Be the wave. Make the call. Write the message. Say the thing. Not because it guarantees a result, but because it frees you from the burden of wondering. When love is expressed without attachment, it becomes a gift, not a transaction. If you've been feeling distant from someone you care about, or uncertain about where you stand, this is the moment to bring clarity through words. Not perfect words. Just honest ones. And if there's no one to say them to just yet, begin with yourself. Speak your longings into the morning air. Say what you wish someone would have said to you. Let your voice, even in its trembling, become your anchor. For your body, even a cup of ginger tea with honey can support this process. Not just because it soothes your throat, but because the warmth reminds your system, it's safe to speak again. It's safe to express. It's safe to feel. And maybe that's the real message of 3, not just to speak louder, but to speak clearer. To give your inner voice a passageway. To let your heart become language. And in doing so, you don't just connect with others, you come home to yourself. After the heart has opened through the number 3 through voice, honesty, and the courage to express, the number 21 arrives like a breath drawn deeper into the body. It comes with a different texture. While 3 is airy and emotional, 21 is steady and integrative. It asks not what you feel, but what you do with those feelings. Not what you hope for, but what you're truly ready to act on. It's the moment where vision touches the earth, where the emotional clarity you've gained is meant to be shaped into daily rhythm, meaningful action, and gentle structure. This number carries the energy of return, not back to the past, but back to yourself, in full form. Its energy echoes something ancient, the understanding that inner transformation isn't complete without embodiment. That knowing something in the mind or heart is not yet real unless it's reflected in how we move, eat, sleep, speak, and create. 21 reminds us that our bodies are not separate from our dreams. They are the vessels that either support them or quietly resist them. When the moon moves through Virgo, the cosmos encourages recalibration. Virgo doesn't seek control for the sake of perfection, it seeks alignment for the sake of wholeness. And under this influence, you're invited to look not just at what you wish for, but at how your current habits are either nurturing or diluting that wish. Are you treating your mornings as sacred? Are your meals nourishing or numbing? Is your sleep a place of restoration or late-night scrolling? These questions aren't meant to shame you, they're invitations to remember that your rituals are what make the invisible visible. What you repeat, you become. The energy of 21 carries a quiet discipline. Not the kind that pushes harshly, but the kind that arises from compassion. From recognizing that consistency is a form of love, the kind of love that says, I trust myself enough to show up. It's in the small actions, taken steadily, that the larger shifts begin to emerge. The teachings remind us that when we water the tree at its roots instead of chasing every fallen leaf, the fruit comes in its own time. In this way, 21 is not asking you to speed up, it's asking you to simplify, to choose with presence, and to bring your goals down into your hands. If you've been procrastinating, this number meets you right there. It doesn't judge the pause, it simply invites movement again. Not a sprint, but a returning step. Choose one task that's been sitting on the edge of your energy. One thing you've postponed, one small promise you've made to yourself but haven't kept. Don't worry about completing everything. Just choose one. Set a timer. Give it 21 minutes of focus. Or 21 hours of quiet commitment. Let the energy settle not in your plans, but in your feet. This is how balance begins, not in mastering everything, but in mastering one thing at a time with mindfulness. And when you do, your body starts to respond. The nervous system softens. The sleep deepens. The breath slows. Because your system recognizes a signal it's been waiting for, the signal of follow-through, of internal coherence, of intention made visible. This is healing not through intensity, but through steadiness. Through remembering that your goals don't need you to be perfect, they just need you to participate. So write down 3 intentions, even if they're small. Choose one. Let it live in your actions. Let it change the shape of your day, even slightly. And as you do, you may notice something subtle, the sense that you're no longer chasing alignment, you're living it. One grounded breath, one clear action, one honest choice at a time. That's the rhythm of 21. As we move from the steady rhythm of 21, where intention takes form through quiet consistency, we now enter the vibrant pulse of the number 5. The contrast is unmistakable. Where 21 teaches us to anchor, 5 dares us to move. Its energy doesn't whisper or wait, it arrives like a sudden breeze, lifting the stillness just enough to remind you, you are not here to repeat the past. You are here to shift. 5 is the number of motion, of freedom, of the courageous yes. It appears in your path when the inner desire to expand begins to outweigh the fear of disruption. And for Leo, who often moves with strong purpose but can become entangled in fixed routines, 5 is a gentle disruption, not to unravel what you've built, but to help you outgrow what no longer excites you. With Mars interacting with Uranus, this energy is especially raw and electric. Mars fuels our drive, Uranus sparks innovation. When they meet, your comfort zone begins to tremble, not out of instability, but to make room for evolution. This isn't about making reckless decisions or chasing thrills. It's about recognizing the places in your life where resistance has been quietly posing as structure. The habits that once helped you stay grounded may now be the very things slowing your progress. Ask yourself, not with judgment but with curiosity, what am I avoiding changing in my work because it feels too unfamiliar? Am I still operating from a version of myself that no longer fits the clarity I've gained? 5 calls you to step outside the script, especially in the areas of career and creativity. Sometimes the smallest shift, a new approach to your workflow, a change in environment, even reaching out to someone you've been circling in thought can recalibrate your momentum completely. In relationships, this number invites a similar inquiry. Are you loving from a place of habit or from a place of presence? Are you assuming the ending before you've even tried a different beginning? 5 reminds us that love is not a static state, it is a movement, a dance between boundaries and surrender. This might be the moment to drop the familiar storyline and let something new unfold. Not because the old was wrong, but because you've grown past it. On a physical level, the message is just as clear. Your body, too, is asking for renewal through motion. Not to exhaust you, but to free you from the tension that accumulates when change is felt internally but not acted on externally. A walk in a different direction, stretching before the day begins, switching up your routine at the gym, these are all small acts of liberation that signal to your nervous system, it's safe to move forward. There's a quiet wisdom in the teaching that liberation doesn't always come from grand gestures. Sometimes it arrives through the moment you say yes to something that used to make you hesitate. Through the willingness to be a little uncomfortable in service of something more alive. And 5 reminds us that freedom isn't found by escaping discipline, but by choosing the kind of structure that allows us to breathe more deeply, to show up more fully, and to live less confined by the stories we once needed to survive. So today, choose something different. Say the thing you've been rehearsing silently. Sit somewhere new. Work from a different rhythm. Interrupt your autopilot. Let surprise become your teacher. Because it's often in the unfamiliar that the next version of you starts to form. And 5, in its bold simplicity, is here to say, you are more capable than you think, not because you've prepared for every outcome, but because you've remembered how to respond in real time. This is your moment to respond. Let it move you. Following the bold energy of 5, where we dared to move, shift, and choose differently, the arrival of 33 feels like a quiet return to center. Its vibration is softer, but deeper. While 5 activates freedom through disruption, 33 heals through compassion. This number holds the frequency of love without condition, the kind that does not ask for guarantees, the kind that stays present even when it doesn't understand. It's the number that asks us to soften, not as weakness, but as strength refined. Under the sun's illumination in Cancer, emotion is not something to analyze, it's something to feel all the way through. Cancer's influence opens the heart space gently, like a tide washing away what's hardened there. And when that openness meets the vibration of 33, a kind of alchemy begins. This is the moment when emotional maturity takes root, when you realize that forgiveness is not about forgetting, but about releasing yourself from the weight you no longer need to carry. Many of us hold pain close to the chest, not because we want to suffer, but because on some level, it became familiar. And yet the heart, biologically and energetically, is not meant to store heaviness, it's meant to move it. What we don't allow ourselves to express with love often expresses itself as tension, restlessness, even physical illness. 33 reminds us that tenderness is not indulgence. It is intelligent, embodied resilience. If you've been carrying resentment, it may be asking for your attention, not to punish, but to be understood. The simple act of placing your hand over your heart and whispering, "I release what no longer serves me," is not trivial, it's medicine. It's a gesture of willingness. Of no longer needing every answer before choosing to let go. This number doesn't call you to love louder or more dramatically. It asks you to love more honestly, to show up with fewer defenses, to speak with more warmth, and to make space for beauty even in the midst of uncertainty. In quiet solitude, with music that calms your breath and a journal beside you, your heart knows how to guide you back. And that return? That is the essence of healing, not fixing, but freeing. After moving through the tender space of 33, where the heart softened enough to let go of old pain, we arrive now at the grounded, steady resonance of the number 8. Its presence feels different, like standing on solid earth after floating through waves of emotion. While 33 invited healing through surrender, 8 invites strength through structure. It is not about force, but about alignment. It is not about control, but about conscious responsibility, the kind that brings freedom not through avoidance, but through commitment. The energy of 8 asks you to take your vision, your growth, your healing, your purpose, and give it a container that can hold it. With Saturn forming a harmonious angle to the Sun, the wisdom of boundaries becomes a gift, not a limitation. This is where foundation becomes a form of love. Because when your days have rhythm, your body begins to relax. When your finances have clarity, your nervous system stops scanning for survival. And when your mind knows what to return to each morning, your energy stops scattering toward what doesn't matter. This number often shows up when you're ready to move from insight into integration. Not just knowing what needs to shift, but choosing to live in a way that supports that shift. 8 doesn't rush you into transformation, it invites you to build slowly, from the inside out. And that building starts in the small, often invisible choices. What you reach for first in the morning. How you speak to yourself when no one's listening. Whether you create space to pause before reacting. In ancient teachings, there is an understanding that true power lives in presence, not in controlling outcomes, but in showing up fully for what arises. When you create consistency, you create the conditions for clarity to take root. This is the wisdom behind routine, not rigidity, but spaciousness born from simplicity. Like a garden given regular sunlight and water, your system thrives when it knows what to expect. Not perfection. Just enough reliability to hold your momentum. 8 is also intimately connected to money, but not in the way we often assume. It's not about striving for excess. It's about honoring your resources, time, energy, finances as extensions of your attention. Are you spending to soothe or to support? Are you choosing based on alignment or reaction? This number nudges you to return to intentionality. To say yes only to what echoes your values, and to release the need to prove anything through your possessions. On a physical level, your body may already be signaling its craving for stability. You might notice sleep disruptions, fluctuating appetite, or general fatigue, not because something is wrong, but because the system is seeking rhythm. Try waking up at the same time each day for the next 8 days. Begin with just 8 minutes of stillness before reaching for your phone. Let your mornings become your anchor, your financial habits your teacher, and your physical well-being your barometer. 8 doesn't ask you to be perfect. It asks you to be present. To remember that every strong structure is built on repetition, not rush. And that the most meaningful transformation isn't the one you post about, it's the one you practice when no one is watching. Quietly. Daily. Devotedly. As you step into the energy of 8, let it be a homecoming. To your focus. To your breath. To the part of you that no longer needs chaos to feel alive. Here, in the grounded rhythm of your own choosing, life begins to respond. Not with noise, but with balance. Not with urgency, but with trust. And in that steadiness, the next chapter quietly begins. And now, dear Leo, if you've stayed with me until this point, I know something inside you has shifted. Maybe it was subtle, a breath that landed deeper, a sentence that echoed louder, a number that made your chest rise just a little slower than usual. Whatever it was, trust it. The energy doesn't lie. One of these 6 cosmic numbers wasn't just meant to be heard, it was meant to find you. And if it did, that's not an accident. It's a moment of recognition. A signpost on your path that says, you're ready. You're ready not for something outside of you to save or change you, but for the version of yourself that's always known how to begin again. The version that doesn't wait for permission. That doesn't perform for approval. The version that quietly chooses alignment, over and over again, until that becomes your new default. These 6 numbers weren't just shared for curiosity or inspiration, they were given as tools. They are not magic in and of themselves. Their power comes alive when you act on them. So I ask you now, gently but honestly, which number asked you to listen more closely? Which one stirred something ancient inside you, a truth, a longing, a direction you've been quietly circling? What would happen if you honored that number not just by remembering it, but by living it? If 17 called you into financial trust, are you ready to say no to scarcity thinking? If 3 reminded you to speak from the heart, will you make the call you've been avoiding? If 21 brought your body back to rhythm, will you protect your rest like it matters? If 5 cracked open your comfort zone, can you do one thing this week that scares you in a good way? If 33 asked your heart to soften, are you ready to forgive, even if only to free yourself? And if 8 grounded you in structure, will you rise earlier tomorrow and build the life that matches your clarity? These are not questions for someone else. They're for you. Right now. In this season of your life, not the next. And I want to invite you not just as a guide, but as someone walking this path beside you, to leave a comment and share which number stayed with you. Don't overthink it. Just name it. Declare it. Let the universe, and your own system, hear you say, this is where I begin. Because Leo, you were never meant to chase the light. You were born to radiate it. And when you remember that, when you live as if that truth is already active, the world responds differently. Your relationships deepen. Your choices sharpen. Your body relaxes. And your path, even when unclear, starts to feel more solid beneath your feet. Thank you for being here, truly. For giving your time, your attention, and most of all, your energy to this journey. Every view, every like, every comment, and every subscription you gift to this space is what keeps the flame of eternal mindfulness burning. It allows this channel to keep offering what it was created for: honest guidance, gentle transformation, and a space where the stars and your heart can meet halfway. If this video moved something in you, please like it as a signal to your own system that it mattered. Share it with someone you love, someone you believe deserves a fresh start. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to Eternal Mindfulness, where each video is another doorway not to escape yourself, but to return home to who you've always been. So tell me, Radiant Leo, which number found you? And what are you willing to do with it now?